Because what we are witnessing right now is absolutely extraordinary. The defending Masters champion, the face of the PGA Tour for over a decade, the player who should be doing nothing but polishing his green jacket and preparing for his title defense, has instead decided to become the most polarizing figure in professional golf. And the 2026 Masters is days away. Let that sink in for a moment. Days away. And instead of discussing his course strategy or his mental preparation or how he plans to handle the pressure of defending at Augusta National, we are here dissecting the absolute chaos he has unleashed with his words. Some people are calling him refreshingly honest. Others are calling him arrogant, cold, and completely out of line. But here is the one thing nobody can dispute, the one thing that cuts through all the noise. Everybody is talking about Rory McILROY. Everybody. And when you look at what he has said over the past few weeks, when you examine the bombs he has dropped across multiple fronts, you start to understand why the golf world is collectively losing its mind. Let us start with the moment that defined the 2025 Masters. The ninth green, final round, Rory McILROY and Bryson DeChambeau, two of the biggest names in the sport, standing over birdie putts that would shape the outcome of the most prestigious tournament in golf. Both had hit brilliant approach shots. Both were sitting 12 to 15 feet from glory. The tension was so thick you could chew on it. And then, according to McILROY himself, DeChambeau crossed a line, an invisible line perhaps, but a line nonetheless. In a new teaser for Amazon Prime's documentary called The Masters Wait, McILROY revealed exactly what happened in that moment that has become legendary. He explained that both players wanted to putt first because sinking your putt before your opponent applies maximum psychological pressure. Standard competitive psychology. Nothing controversial there. This is golf at its highest level, and every advantage matters. But here is where it gets interesting. DeChambeau, according to McILROY, suggested they flip a tee to decide who goes first. Just toss it up in the air, let fate decide. Keep things casual and friendly. McILROY's response? A flat, unequivocal, absolute no. This is the final round of the Masters, McILROY said. This isn't some game on a Tuesday afternoon somewhere. I wasn't going to wilt in that situation. I was going to stand firm. Do you understand what happened there? Do you grasp the magnitude of that exchange? In the most pressure-packed moment of the most prestigious tournament in golf, Bryson DeChambeau tried to introduce randomness. He tried to turn a chess match into a coin flip. He tried to make the final round of the Masters feel like a casual practice round between buddies. And McILROY looked him dead in the eye and refused to play that game. The exchange lasted only moments, but it captured everything about the tension between these two rivals. McILROY believed it was clearly his turn to putt. He thought DeChambeau's ball was slightly closer to the hole than his own. They locked eyes, each man claiming the right to go first, neither willing to back down. We sort of looked at each other, and I'm like, I think it's me to go. And he's like, well, I think it's me to go. When DeChambeau suggested the tee toss again, McILROY offered an alternative that was pure competitive steel. Bring someone out to measure the distance. Let us do this properly. Let us do this the right way. DeChambeau backed down immediately. No, it's fine. You can go anyway. I don't care. McILROY holed the putt. DeChambeau missed. The momentum swung like a wrecking ball crashing through a wall. McILROY went on to win his first Masters in a playoff, completing the career Grand Slam that had eluded him for so long, that had caused so much heartache over so many years. But the story did not end on the 18th green with the trophy presentation and the green jacket ceremony. After the round, DeChambeau voiced his displeasure publicly, and he did not hold back. Rory wouldn't talk to me, not a word, he said. I get being focused, but that's just not me. It felt cold out there. And McILROY's response, absolutely, completely, unequivocally unapologetic. I wasn't there to be his mate. I was there to win the Masters. If he wanted a conversation, he should have booked a lunch. That quote is going to live forever. It is going to be printed on t-shirts and coffee mugs. It is going to be referenced every single time these two men compete against each other for the rest of their careers, because it perfectly encapsulates who Rory McILROY is when the pressure is at its peak and the stakes are at their highest. He is not there to make friends. He is not there to be polite. He is there to win. Now, a year later, with the documentary about to air and the 2026 Masters approaching, that moment on the ninth green is back in the spotlight with a vengeance. And the golf world is still deeply divided. Some fans praised McILROY for his competitive edge, for his refusal to let his opponent dictate the terms of engagement. Others called him cold, calculating, even disrespectful to the spirit of the game. But everybody agreed on one thing, one undeniable truth. The no on the ninth green changed everything. But if you thought that was the end of McIlroy's controversial statements, you were not paying close enough attention, because he was just getting started. He was just warming up. In February, the PGA Tour released a promotional video for the Players' Championship with the tagline, "March is going to be major." The message was crystal clear, impossible to misinterpret. The tour's flagship event was positioning itself as golf's fifth major. They were trying to elevate the status of their crown jewel tournament to stand alongside the Masters, the U.S. Open, the Open Championship, and the PGA Championship. McIlroy, the defending champion of the Players, the man who had won it twice and should theoretically be its biggest advocate, looked at that marketing campaign and said essentially, "No, thank you. I am not buying what you are selling." Look, I'd love to have 7 majors instead of 5. That sounds great, McIlroy said ahead of the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. "I think the Players is one of the best golf tournaments in the world. I don't think anyone disputes that or argues that, but I'm a traditionalist. I'm a historian of the game. We have 4 major championships. Let that marinate for a moment. Let it sink into your consciousness. The PGA Tour is trying to boost its own product. They are trying to create buzz, generate excitement, elevate the prestige of their biggest event outside of the majors. And their most prominent player, the undisputed face of the tour, publicly undermines the entire campaign with a few sentences. He did not stop there. He was not finished delivering his verdict. He pointed to the women's game as a cautionary tale, as an example of what happens when you dilute the concept of a major championship. If you want to see what 5 major championships looks like, look at the women's game. I don't know how well that's went for them, but it's the Players. It doesn't need to be anything else. The reaction was immediate, brutal, and widespread. Golf Channel's Ryan Lavner called it an astonishing admission that would have left PGA Tour executives in a full facepalm moment. If you're PGA Tour HQ, that's a full facepalm moment. Like, we have some serious work to do if at worst our second most important player feels this way. And then in a twist that nobody saw coming but everybody should have expected, Live Golf decided to pile on. The Tour's sworn enemy, the rival league that has been battling the PGA Tour for supremacy, posted a mock notice on social media. Important notice: major championship applications are now open, since we're doing that now. The irony was thick enough to cut with a 9-iron. The PGA Tour's biggest star had just handed their rivals a comedic gift wrapped in a bow with a cherry on top. But McIlroy found support from an unlikely source in this particular battle. Phil Mickelson, who won the Players in 2007 and has never been shy about expressing his opinions, agreed with his rival. When Brandel Chambly called the Players the best major, Mickelson pushed back immediately. "I've won it. It's not." For McIlroy, the issue was never about diminishing the Players' Championship or disrespecting the tournament he has won twice. It was about preserving history, about protecting the traditions that make golf special. I think the Players can be, and it is, an amazing tournament in its own right. I don't think it being classified a major or not a major makes it any more or any less. I'm still very proud to have won that tournament twice, but the damage was done. The Tour's campaign to elevate the Players had been publicly undermined by its biggest star, and the backlash was just beginning to build momentum. Because if McIlroy's comments about the Players frustrated tour executives and left them scrambling for damage control, his words about Tiger Woods absolutely devastated fans around the world. For months, the golf world had been clinging to hope like a drowning man clutching a life preserver. Tiger Woods was recovering from disc replacement surgery. He had been seen hitting shots at the SoFi Center. He had said publicly that the Masters was not off the table. The faithful believed that maybe, just maybe, we would see one more miracle at Augusta National, one more Sunday charge from the greatest player of his generation. Then McIlroy delivered a reality check that hit like a sledgehammer to the chest. During a TGL event in March, someone asked if Woods would suit up to play a match before the season concluded. McIlroy's response was definitive, leaving no room for interpretation or hope. "No, absolutely no, I don't think so." Those words hit hard. If Woods was not healthy enough for a simulator league, if he could not even compete in a technology-assisted format, how could he possibly handle 72 holes walking the hills of Augusta National? The definitive nature of McIlroy's absolutely no resonated throughout the professional golf community like a shockwave. The comments added fuel to speculation that had been building for months among those who follow the sport closely. Woods had been sidelined for the entire 2025 season following a ruptured Achilles tendon that derailed yet another comeback attempt. In October 2025, he underwent a seventh back procedure, adding another surgery to a body that has been through more medical interventions than most professional athletes could survive. While he had been seen supporting his son Charlie at junior events and even hit a single iron shot at TGL, he had yet to play a full round of competitive golf. McIlroy's assessment was brutally honest. And for fans who had been hoping for one more comeback, one more walk up the 18th fairway on Sunday, it was absolutely devastating to hear. Even Donald Trump weighed in on the matter, claiming that Tiger Woods would not play in the Masters. I love Tiger, but he won't be there. He will be there, but he won't be playing in it. The president's comments were met with skepticism in many quarters, but they aligned perfectly with McIlroy's assessment. The Masters was weeks away, and for the first time in years, the golf world was reluctantly accepting that Tiger Woods might not be part of it. But McIlroy was not finished dropping bombs. If his comments about Tiger were about honesty and facing difficult truths, his words about Jon Rahm were about loyalty and the obligations that come with being part of something bigger than yourself. In January, as the LIV golf saga continued to divide the sport into warring factions, McIlroy delivered a blunt message to the Europeans who had defected to the rival league. Pay your fines or forget about the Ryder Cup. The DP World Tour had offered a deal to LIV players that seemed reasonable by most standards. Pay your outstanding penalties, drop your appeals against the tour, and commit to playing 6 events instead of the standard 4. 8 players looked at that deal and accepted it. Jon Rahm did not. Rahm called the deal extortion. He said the DP World Tour was using their impact in tournaments while finding players who had already made the decision to leave. He offered to sign if the requirement was dropped to 4 events instead of 6. The tour refused to budge. McIlroy's response was swift and cutting, delivered with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel. In my opinion, it's a really generous deal. It's much softer than what the PGA Tour required of Brooks Koepka to return. He pointed to the 8 players who had accepted the terms and moved forward. There's a reason 8 of the 9 guys took that deal, right? I think it's a really good deal. Obviously, Jon doesn't think so, and he's obviously well within his rights to think that way. But I just don't see what more the European Tour can do to accommodate these guys to retain their membership. Then came the warning, delivered with the subtlety of a sledgehammer and the finality of a judge's gavel. If you want to play in the Ryder Cup, you have to be a member of the DP World Tour. You have to abide by the rules and regulations. McIlroy also needled Rahm about his LIV schedule with a pointed observation, noting that the Spaniard was preparing to play in South Africa while simultaneously criticizing the DP World Tour's demands. I'm sure Jon doesn't want to go to South Africa next week, but he's going there. The message was unmistakably clear. Rahm had made his choice when he joined LIV Golf. Now he had to live with the consequences of that decision. The Ryder Cup is bigger than any one person, McIlroy said, delivering what sounded like both a warning and a principle he holds sacred. It's bigger than all of us. We come and go. Players pass through the system. We should all be grateful that we have a platform like the Ryder Cup that we can play on and that we can showcase our skills and be a part of something that's obviously way bigger than ourselves. Those words were pointed and direct, but they came from a place of genuine experience and deep conviction. McIlroy has spent his entire career defending the institutions that gave him the platform to become one of the greatest players of his generation. Now he was asking others to show the same respect and commitment. So here we are, standing at the precipice of another Masters week. The 2026 Masters is days away. Rory McIlroy will be there defending the green jacket he waited 14 long years to earn. Bryson DeChambeau will be there, still stinging from last year's defeat on the 9th green, still remembering the no that changed everything. Tiger Woods will be watching from somewhere else, his future uncertain, his body betraying the competitive fire that still burns inside him. Jon Rahm's Ryder Cup participation hangs in the balance, a cautionary tale about choices and consequences, and the golf world will be watching, waiting with bated breath to see what Rory McIlroy says next, because that is the reality sacrificed for diplomacy, where players give canned answers and avoid controversy like it is a water hazard on 18. McIlroy has chosen a different path entirely. He told DeChambeau no at the most critical moment of the Masters. He told the PGA Tour their flagship event is not a major and never will be. He told fans the truth about Tiger's health when they desperately did not want to hear it. He told Rahm that choices have consequences, and Europe's biggest star might miss the Ryder Cup because of his decisions. Some call it competitive fire that burns hotter than anyone else in the sport. Others call it arrogance that borders on disrespect. But through it all, through every controversy and every headline, McIlroy has never stopped speaking his mind. The backlash is real and growing louder by the day. The criticism comes from every direction. The debates seem endless and irreconcilable. But one thing is absolutely certain. Whatever Rory McIlroy says next, it will be honest. And in a world full of carefully crafted press releases and media-trained responses designed to offend nobody and say nothing, that honesty, uncomfortable as it may be, is exactly what makes him impossible to ignore. The 2026 Masters begins in days. The defending champion has already won the war of words. Now he has to defend his title on the course where he made history, where he finally slayed the demons that had haunted him for so long, and the entire golf world will be watching every step he takes.